Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Today's Insight Tonight with Ashok Vyas is going to be a very special show because it relates to life in a special way. When we look at life, it's about learning, it's about celebrating, and how culture plays a significant role in helping us celebrate life with all its beauty and glory is the essence of Indian culture. And when we look at the Indian classical dance forms, and you think about the environment in which you start living in once you come to New York, it becomes a very far fetched dream that you have kids growing up and learning classical art forms like Kathak dance, but that's not just happening. There are young professional Indian Americans who are also observing the glory of Kathak in the form of New York Kathak Festival. And I have the pleasure of welcoming two young ladies who are actively participating, supporting, and making this happen. So, first, let me take this opportunity of वेलकमिंग हैना एंड मीनाक्षी। नमस्ते, स्वागत है आप दोनों का। तो
Namaskar.
Namaste.
फेस्टिवल की तरफ आने से पहले मीनाक्षी, डिड यू लर्न कथक, हु डिड यू लर्न एंड व्हाट वाज इट लाइक बीइंग अ कथक डांसर?
Sure. I started learning in Kathak in India at a very young age from Mrs. Pathak. She belonged to the Jaipur Gharana. When I relocated to New York City, I trained with Mrs. Janaki Patrick, who is a student of the late Pandit Birju Maharaj Ji, and she specializes in his pioneered Kathak Lucknow Gharana. I The reason for wanting to learn Kathak or getting back to it is um, I love classical dance. I love music. I grew up with it in my family and household, and I wanted to continue practicing and learning it. Over the years, being in a foreign country, I think I have now lived in New York City for 23 years, so most of my adulthood and most of my life. You look for touch points that take you back to your roots, that take you back to where you grew up. And Kathak gave me that. It has given me touch points with India, with classical dance, and some of the best friends that I have in this
Hmm.
country today.
I think one of your friend is here with us also.
That's
So
right.
yeah, let me also ask the same question to you, Hannah, and talk to me about how Kathak helps you in developing as a person. In terms of you guys are all professionals, which means there are certain skill sets that are required, whether you are in fashion designing field or marketing or whatever. So how do you see the experience of being a Kathak dancer helps you build a bridge in doing to the best of your ability whatever it is that you are doing?
So honestly, it is brings out your creative side. Kathak is something that keeps you grounded. It keeps you creating. It continues to help over time in many years with the discipline that is also involved. So any type of classical form, when we learn a classical form, it helps keep your mind in a certain direction, helps keep everything moving in a certain direction, helps keep your life focused in a certain direction. And as we move forward, it is something that we have honestly strived to bring forward to the other generations to come. So that is something that has always kept us very focused on that aspect and bringing it back to the real world and your day-to-day life. You continue to bring those learnings and those teachings that you learn in class. It doesn't have to be the actual art form, but rather the nurturing and the teachings that you get from your guruji into your everyday life. I think that is the biggest takeaway that you can take from learning a classical dance form.
So, Meenakshi, we hear from everyone that people's attention span is declining, and everybody is like, go, go, go. Multitasking is kind of taking away our ability to focus, etc. So, Kathak requires certain additional sort of a meditative flow of your mind and body. And so, how it it is for you in terms of doing continuous रियाज और बाद में ऐसा लगता है कि it is not possible to sort of continue to practice or so talk to me about the the contrast that in my mind as a layman I feel this is something which requires you to be at peace at peace with yourself. But everybody is running, so yeah.
Yes, so echoing what Hannah said, what Kathak or any classical dance form for that matter, or music form for that matter, it gives you that that focus, that discipline, and it needs that. In Hindi, there's a word sthir hona. It gives you that moment to just be stabilize yourself and be sthir, which in today's day and age, as you said rightly so, we're all running. We're running to work, we're running home, we're multitasking, there's phones, there's social media, there's so much, our minds are clouded. It takes a while. It takes a while, and it's not easy. But time and time again, we go back to it in spite of what happens in our daily lives, because we crave that. Our inner self craves that sthirness, that stability, that calm, that discipline, that focus. And obviously, just once you're there and once you're in it, you don't need any other motivation. The motivation is just to get there. Once you're there, the music and the dance form takes over your mind and matter.
So let's learn a little bit more about Kathak from both of you, and one relates to the kind of attire which you have while you are performing on the stage, Henna. So first time when I mean, there is gunguru or padani, and then for your first time performer as someone who has learned. What is that term called? Rangamanch Pravesh, and in Kathak, what do we say?
Yes, Rangmanch.
हाँ,
Rangmanch.
तो वो जो तैयारी आपने की होगी और when you first made your parents buy that which your Guruji told that this is what is needed, and in contrast to the regular New York girls wearing maybe different kind of outfit, so how was it? I mean, you enjoyed it or share that experience?
It is honestly the best experience. That moment of putting your ghungru and receiving ghungru, that moment of buying your first angarkha, that is truly, there's nothing that can change that moment. It really feels like you made it, kind of, kar liya, pahunch gaye hum. उस टाइप का फीलिंग होता है, एंड ऑनेस्टली इट्स अ ट्रस्ट फैक्टर मोर देन एनीथिंग एल्स एट दैट पॉइंट इट बिकम्स के Guruji now trusts me to present myself on a stage platform. And Guruji Panelists Khaji, he is a complete trusting person. So when he's given me that faith that, okay, jao, karo, present, that I think really made all the hard work and all the years of hard work worth it. Being able to present yourself it's really an accomplishment I would not have changed for the world. It was really a special moment, really special.
Yeah. So Meenakshi, Kathak, as a layman, if I remember it correctly, Kathak मतलब कथा कहना, meaning it is a storytelling in the dance form. तो किस तरह की कथाएं अधिक कही जाती थी और as we are in the world where fusion is very much sort of experimented with, so has Kathak storytelling changed or adapted to some new themes also? So talk to us about both sides, traditionally and the modern.
So Kathak, like India, has two facets to it. One is the Hindu side of Kathak, which thrives on the stories of Krishna and various gods and goddesses around it. Our lineage, or the lineage for my guru, Pandit Birju Maharaj Ji, he was a devotee of Lord Krishna. So he focused a lot of his compositions around Krishna and the stories around Krishna, the playfulness, the war, all of it. So that's the Hindu side, which plays on all of the deities and gods and goddesses. And then there is a Islamic side, a Muslim side to it, which traditionally originated from courtesans entertaining their guests. Um, And that is a whole other topic on courtesans, which I hope one day we can speak about as Kathak dancers. But courtesans is the entertainment aspect of it. So there's shairi, poetry, and a lot of play in those songs. So there's two sides of where Kathak originated. And to your point, where it first started, the Kathak dancers were called Kathakaris. They used to do storytelling. They would perform in temples and tell the story of God. That is where Kathak originated, way back. Its roots can be traced very far back. Today, Kathak is practiced in its original form, but the variations and the fusions are tremendous. At our 2019 festival, one of our dancers, Shivangi, flew in from Singapore. One of the artists, she flew in from Singapore and performed a beautiful piece which embodied elements of different Western dances incorporated into Kathak. Um, Sri Prashant Shah, Prashant Bhai, who is our New York Kathak guru and a performing artist, takes a lot of play on Kathak, and he has innovated his style to have aspects of traditional Kathak, but incorporate them with modern, whether it's Bollywood, whether it's ballet, whether it's tap dancing. So you see a lot of that amalgamation and fusion of various dance forms playing with Kathak. And contemporary. Kathak is, takes a lot from contemporary dancing and vice versa. So you see a lot of that mixing and being featured as well. So I think the Kathak world today has opened up, and all of the boundaries have been broken in a good way, in a positive way. And hopefully, the younger generation to come. I have a young child myself, so I am hopeful that not having boundaries to sticking to only the classical set will encourage them to participate and learn and keep this tradition going.
So actually, we are going beyond boundaries with Kathak also, as we are talking in New York, and we have some glimpses that we were seeing from 2019 Kathak Festival in New York. So, and here we also had the presence of none other than Birju Maharaj ji. So, while you see such great artists perform and sort of show you the nuance of Kathak style, I come back to both of you. Actually, listening to Maharajji or having something executed in the presence of such great artists is an experience in itself. Before we get to the Kathak festival, any particular story that you heard or you presented in a form of Kathak, which is very dear to you, both of you, and we talked about traditional and modern, and so in India, all classical art forms, or rather, art forms were geared to invoke the presence of divine, and that is true in the case of Kathak also, whether it is Leela of Lord Krishna or Mother Goddess, etc. Any one that you personally liked. So first, I'll have Henna respond to it, and I'll also have a small quiz for you. While sitting, is there any mudra that of Kathak that you can display? Do that also, Henna. Yeah.
Bilkul, bilkul. Absolutely. So I think the most special performance that I have actually done was in my later years with a local dancer, Barka Patel. She is also a fellow Kathak dancer in the area. We did a mukta. Mukta. It was about the female energy, and basically invoking the female energy with the goddess Bhagavati, and she's invoking energy into the female body, and how we were Naris at one point, and then over time we grew into a very strong female lead, and it was super important because I think we all, as Meenakshi was saying, we've done like all the Radha Krishna stories. Of course, those are absolutely unbeatable because it's something that you learn to relate to. But overall, when you do something a little bit, something that us as females relate to in today's day, I think that is also something that really captures, what you've been a part of. So I did have the pleasure of being a part of that, and I think it really did invoke a lot of strength inside all of us females as well. And a mudra that we can do while sitting, of course, is the nari. So we have the nari. You take the dupatta over, you do a nari, and you look through, and that is the nari, what we call as a nari pose.
Wonderful. So, as we talk about the New York Kathak festival, let me have Meenakshi also share her favorite, and she need to unmute herself. Uh, yeah,
I I think my most favorite was this composition that I performed to the music of Mozart. It was termed, the production was termed Mozart Ayana, and it was to the music of Mozart. We presented traditional Kathak uh, dance form. It was truly set in the traditional taranas and hats and tukras, and taking those and inserting them to the music of Mozart. And it was such an honor to actually present it to Pandit Birju Maharaj Ji when he was traveling to Chicago for a festival there. And we got the opportunity to perform it in front of him, and he truly appreciated the merging of different classical forms. And he was definitely, while he was a pioneer in the Kathak space, he appreciated every music and dance form. So that to me is a memory that will always stay with me, and a very proud moment.
yeah, and your mudra.
Uh-huh.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
So I was reminded of the expression of all nine rasas by Pandit Birju Maharaj. He would just sit, even the way he would smile or sort of gaze, uh, just turning off his eyes. I mean, it was so powerful. It was so powerful.
Yes. Yes.
So the power of Kathak and power of storytelling through Kathak and the energy that you feel while you are surrounded by other fellow Kathak dancers, I think that is something which you probably felt is the reason to come up with this New York Kathak Festival. So let's go to the genesis, how it was formed, and how many years ago, and journey so far. Let's begin with you, Meenakshi.
Sure. So the conversation about New York Kathak Festival actually started over me and our founder of New York Kathak Festival, Anisha, sitting across at a coffee shop. She was at that time writing a thesis about Kathak, and she was interviewing me for the thesis. Um, and as part of that discussion, we got into a passionate conversation about Kathak and its roots and its continuity and its future and what it means to us, today, people like Henna, me, Anisha, that live here in New York City, and so many other dancers. And she told me about her vision to have this Kathak Festival, New York Kathak Festival, by bringing together a group of volunteers and creating this festival. And my immediate approach was go for it. As Henna, introduced me to you earlier, professionally, I work in the operations space. So I'm all about execution. And I was instantly so thrilled and so overjoyed with the idea of doing this that we said let's go for it, and we did. And all credit to Anisha for really pushing it. She's the one who sowed the seeds of this organization and brought us all together. So Henna is a guru of Anisha with Pandit Satyanarayan Charkhaji. She was also working with my guru, Srimati Janaki Patrick. And that's how this organization was built in 2018. And we had our first festival in 2019 in New York, which, as you explained earlier, Pandit Birju Maharaj ji flew from India and graced us with his presence.
So, what I find very impressive, or rather something that we all should celebrate and should support New York Kathak Festival is Here you are also providing a platform to a lot of budding dancers as well as accomplished dancers coming together on the same stage, and that too in this city, which sometimes we refer to as commercial capital of the world, but I think it is also cultural capital in its own way. So, how was the response of the participants as well as the audience over a period of years? There must be some people who are looking forward to this happening, and this year it is happening from 2nd June to 4th June. We'll talk about details of what is happening this year, but overall, the journey so far, Henna.
Oh my gosh, it has been absolutely irreplaceable. When we first, I still remember our first meeting, Meenakshi. I think you can also relate, was that, we were all sitting and we were like, guys, what are we doing? What are we actually about to do, right? And that from that meeting until the actual curation, the actual day of 2019's festival, it was such a pathway. But that moment at registration, seeing everybody walk in at 2019 for the first time at Allen and Ellie, I think that moment just made it totally worth it. Seeing all the smiles, different. We have gharanas in schools in Kathak, so a lot of the time these gharanas don't get a space to come together. Number one, number two, the gharanas also don't, they don't intermingle. Number two. Number three, as you said, a lot of the budding artists who are in America, it's hard to get a space to perform. That is always something that is very lacking, and it's quite difficult. So being able to provide a space for everybody, all these budding artists to perform and present their hard work on a platform, is something that just made it totally worth it. And seeing everybody commingle, talk, discuss, and not just talk about Kathak, talk about themselves, talk about their lives, getting to know each other. As we said, Shivangi came in from Singapore. We had local artists from New Jersey. We had artists from California, from India. This year, it's all over the map as well. We have London coming in. We have, of course, local California, North Carolina, Virginia. It is, and just being able to be together in one spot, learning together, going home together, having lunch together, chai together, concert together. Matlab, 3 दिन के लिए, you are constantly with the same group of people. And in those 3 days, you walk out with so many friends in the Katha community, and a space to talk and chat and discuss. That really, that end result is what it literally gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it, because it was truly the most humbling feeling that I think any of us have ever thought about in the New York Kathak Festival. Like, we didn't know what we were going to expect. People come, we were very thankful, we were very appreciative of every support, first of all. And then as soon as that happens and you see the sold out shows and you see sold out, sold out, sold out, it's like, you know, it really means that something was lacking, and we're
Yeah.
happy to
So, Hannah,
fill.
I interrupt you, and I kind of get a feeling that you're so much emotionally, if I use the word, invested or in sync with the spirit of the festival. And now let us look at the practical side of making things happen. And I think Meenakshi can share that insight, because even four friends meeting in a restaurant requires some logistics, when, how you will reach there, etc. And here there is a common creative purpose which is also rooted in the Indian spirit. Coming together means you need a place and all that. So talk to me how all this has worked out, and how our viewers, if they resonate with this spirit, can become a part of, I call it a creative movement, Meenakshi.
Yeah, and especially in New York, which is sort of the mecca of art, music, and dance space. And post COVID, there's such an influx and such a backlog of performances that were canceled that this year it was extremely challenging to find a venue. Venues have been booked out for years and years in advance. And for our festival, we try to make it, as Anna said, it's 3 days of a fully immersive experience. So we really try to make sure that end to end, once you step in on day one and go through the registration desk, you do not leave the building for anything. You do not leave the space for anything, whether it's for food, whether it's for anything that you may need. We try to think about everything possible and try to make sure that we give you hotel recommendations with easy access. We plan the concert and the workshop schedules such that you have enough time to breathe, to sit down, to eat, to move around. So a lot of thought and planning goes into it. We spend anywhere between 6 to 8 months thoroughly thinking through. In fact, as much as yesterday, up until yesterday, we were still debating certain aspects of our schedule. And with this comes all of the operational challenges and logistical challenges. Food, where are we sourcing it from? How are we getting it delivered? How are we heating it? How are we putting it together? How are we handing it out? All of those elements come into play.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, Meenakshi, sorry to interrupt. No, that financial aspect is.
mhm.
Do you have any corporate sponsors or people who are appreciative of Indian art forms coming and supporting New York Kathak Festival?
So, the Consulate General of India in New York City we are so grateful for their tremendous support to us. They have supported us for our 2019 festival, for all the pop ups we have done, and for this festival in a big way. And without them, it would be very challenging us for execute the festival at the level that we do. We also have a lot of local businesses that really help us out with food sponsorships, with donations. They really there is Kathak dancers in New York who happen to be involved in food businesses, or who happen to be photographers, and they are so willing to come and help us out. But at the end of the day, we are a nonprofit, so all of our volunteers, we do this for the love of Kathak. But it is challenging. It is challenging to keep up. It is challenging to go out for grants and go to corporates for funding. We are, yes, from a scale standpoint, we are big, but not that big. So
And the venue is Symphony Space, which itself is a good experience if you have not been there to feel the space. And as we conclude, Henna, if anyone wants to be a part of this New York Kathak Festival experience from 2nd June to 4th June, of course, they can get more details from NYKTHAKFESTIVAL.com. That is your website. And what else can you tell about how to uh, come and attend?
Absolutely. I mean, we have, as we said, we have the festival, the full festival pass, which is the workshops as well. So this year we are blessed to have Pandit Rajendra Gangani ji. I call him Guruji, so I'm used to that. But Pandit Rajendra Gangani ji, he is flying here this year as one of our headliners, along with Sri Prashant Shah. They will both be running workshops this year. And so we have those passes in the full festival pass. We also are very, very blessed to have Vidushi Shama Bhateji also here. She will be doing a lecture demonstration and she'll be performing as well. So we are lucky to have such artists, esteemed artists coming in and supporting our festival. So you can absolutely join the full festival pass within the workshops, or you can come to the concerts, which are Friday night and Sunday night, excuse me,
So
Sunday
I
afternoon.
will, yeah, I will excuse you as well as I will excuse myself, for the time is telling us to thank both of you, and once again appreciate the dedication with which you are making this New York Kathak Festival happen for everyone. And I'm delighted to learn about young professionals like you both and others coming together and making such wonderful thing happen. And I conclude by saying that this is the right way to move towards peace and harmony. So, on behalf of everybody, lots of good wishes and thanks. So,
Thank
thanking,
you.
thank
thanking,
you so much for the opportunity.
thanking
Thank
both of
you.
them as well as all of you with lots of good wishes. This is Ashok Vyas. Now.